Looking for a new pair of cowboy boots? Check out Tecovas. Tecovas is a Western wear company, and they're opening a store at the King of Prussia Mall this month. Tecovas boots are handmade and known for being stylish and comfortable. Some of these cowboy boots remind me of what my grandpa Willie would wear when he rode his horse and taught inner city kids all about cowboy life. The Tecovas grand opening party will be Friday, June 28th through Sunday the 30th. Grab a drink and get fitted by a pro. Find out more and see what catches your eye at tecovas.com. That's TECOVAS.com. See y'all there. Today on CityCast Philly, it's the season to eat seafood. Whether you're down at the shore or right here in the city, there's never been a better time to dive in and try something new. I'm here with a food and travel writer to talk about her recommendations on how and where to get the best catch for dinner tonight. It's Thursday, June 27th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Alicia Miranda, freelance food and travel writer. Welcome to CityCast Philly.
Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Love it, love it. You recently wrote an article for Edible Philly about the rise of seafood dining. We'll be sure to link that in our show notes. I just keep seeing oysters everywhere. Now, I like to eat snow crab legs from a seafood boil bag with like potatoes and corn that you could get at like Crab du Jour. Is Philly, though, a good town for seafood lovers?
So what I've learned is that Philadelphia has been a big seafood town for ages. At the turn of the century, we had a lot more like, think steakhouses, but for seafood places. So we've always had that, and we have such prime access to the mid-Atlantic coast. So having that prime accessibility makes us pretty popular with seafood. And I think the other thing too that has come out of the pandemic is that chefs are tapping into like nostalgia. And a lot of chefs, grew up around this region, grew up having summers down the shore and love seafood. And so they want to open restaurants where they can eat the food that they love and share that with other people. So I would say those are the three major reasons.
One of my favorite things, if you say, hey, Trenae, we're going to go to like a seafood boil, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. I'll get my bib. I'll get the butter. I'm ready to go. If you could like design like your dream seafood platter, what would be on it?
Well, so here's a fun fact. I'm actually allergic to shellfish.
What? No!
So I know it's really the worst. It truly is the worst. But my joke is that, on my deathbed, I want that big seafood platter. Like, give me all of it. I want like clams casino. I want oysters Rockefeller. I want lobster dripping in butter. I want razor clams. So I would definitely be the person ordering like that big seafood plateau before she goes on to the other side.
Okay, well, I want to talk about some other seafood trends. So we just talked about local chefs kind of bringing back that nostalgia. What other seafood trends would we see this year?
So definitely a continued emphasis on local. So understanding what fish is truly native to the waters here on the Atlantic coast, because it has changed due to climate change. Either fish aren't, certain fish, I should say, aren't as readily available, or other fish have migrated to other waters, or we're getting fish from other waters here. So truly understanding from fishmongers what food and what like fish protein is actually local and native to the mid-Atlantic. That'll be a continued emphasis for sure. And the other thing too is eating different types of seafood. Right? So not just having your regular tuna, your salmon, and your flounder, but mixing it up so that you're able to have as much variety and diversity of the local ecosystem as well.
Okay, so what types of fish are native to the Atlantic waters?
So bluefish is a big one. That actually used to be a top seller I learned at the Oyster House in Center City. But oysters got so big, so that's their
Right.
big thing. Definitely flounder. And then you obviously have shellfish too. That's pretty native to these mid-Atlantic waters as well.
Right, like oysters and clams. Now, Alicia, are there any restaurants you would recommend for adventurous seafood eaters in Philly?
I would say one of my new favorites is Vernick Fish. So that's part of the Four Seasons Hotel building. And that restaurant is like a big celebration of seafood. So they definitely have like classics where they'll do like a Dover sole that's prepared tableside, and they debone the fish and present it to you and do that whole experience. Or they have a fabulous raw bar section. So if you're a crudo gal like me, you can have 6 or 7 different crudo options. So I really love Vernick Fish for that kind of big experience.
What is crudo?
Crudo is raw preparation. So have you ever seen like tuna crudo on a menu? It's just like thinly sliced fish prepared raw. Think of it also like a ceviche, so ceviche.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the only difference with ceviche is that it's lightly marinated in citrus, right? Crudo is just thinly sliced, prepared right for you with like very simple kind of accompaniments.
I love Paladar, which is a Latin kitchen in King of Prussia. They have a great ceviche.
Mm-hmm.
I just love, love, love.
Yeah, and a lot of Mexican restaurants also have the aguachile, which is similar to ceviche as well. I know El Chingon does really cool like versions of that. Another restaurant that I've been going to for a very long time when I want seafood, I would say 2 of them are in Queen Village. So one is Little Fish. It's been around for ages. And the chef there, Alex Yoon, does like his Southeast Asian flavors with the fish preparation, which is really cool. So he has like roasted monkfish. He's got raw crab marinated in soy sauce. He has grilled branzino. He also loves doing like a king crab dish. He uses scallops from Maine as well. He really likes to basically bring like those kind of kimchi flavors, because he does have a Korean background, into the fish preparation, which is really fun. So I do love Little Fish. The other restaurant in Queen Village that I love for seafood is Royal Izakaya. So they have the omakase reservation only space in the back, but up front is a very like casual bar. Omakase in the back is basically a tasting menu. So it's all per the chef's recommendation, what he wants to cook for that evening. And it's multiple courses, like it's 17 courses rather than like a 6-course tasting menu that you might have at another restaurant. The idea for the volume of the course is that it's just one bite, right? So you're just getting like a bite of the one hand roll. And so it's not meant to be as decadent and heavy as you would have a normal tasting menu in another restaurant. And so they have obviously like sushi and hand rolls, but they do seafood dishes as well that are always really fun as well.
Oh, I'm getting so hungry. More on where to catch local seafood after the break.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast. Or, as I can say now, thanks to a few weeks with Babbel, hola, soy David Plotz, el jefe de CityCast. What if in 2024 you got a little bit better every day? When you're learning a new language with Babbel, that's exactly what you're doing. And if Babbel can help me start speaking a new language in just 3 weeks, imagine what you could do in a full year. I got started with Babbel because I realized that my girlfriend, who's a native Spanish speaker, and my son, who's in AP Spanish, were conspiring against me, or I thought they were conspiring against me in Spanish. I wanted to know what they were talking about. And now, thanks to literally just a few weeks of Babbel, I'm starting to be able to eavesdrop. It is rare that something so fun and simple, and Babbel is super fun and very simple, is also so useful. So here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Alicia, you mentioned that you spoke with several different chefs who are really focused on the ecosystem of our local fish or fish farming. You talk a lot about in your article about undervalued local fish. Why don't we hear more about these types of fish?
It's a great question. I think that there are several factors at play. One, like the fish industry just doesn't get a good reputation. Like there's just so much complicated information, I should say, around fish and the perception of fish that, cutting through all the noise, is very difficult for a normal diner to learn about. I like to think that the easiest way to explain that is just that fish has a bad PR problem right now. So it's just like you're reading about fish. Do we eat fish? Do we not eat fish? Is salmon good for us? Is it not good for us? Is it overfarmed? Like there's just so much. Mm-hmm. And it's, they don't have like a good marketing campaign to get to us as diners. So we have to really rely on local experts for sure.
Got you. Okay. What kinds of questions should I ask when ordering seafood?
So for me, I grew up in the Caribbean, so I grew up eating whole fish a lot. And so for me, when I'm out at a restaurant and I know that I want seafood, I just ask any question that you would for any other protein when you want to get local, right? Like, where was this fish caught? Is it a sustainable fish? Meaning, is there a lot of accessibility or is it minimal? I would ask the chef as much as possible about the fish. And then they would have the information from their local purveyors, like a Samuel Seafood here in Philadelphia will tell you all the information possible about the fish that they catch and why it's good for us and things like that.
Cost can also be a big barrier for people when it comes to seafood. Just how affordable is locally sourced and sustainable seafood these days?
So I would say that it's definitely cheaper than getting fish from, say, Europe, right? Because you're paying for shipping and handling if you're getting fish not from these local waters, right? That being said, the price point for fish in general, just like we're seeing across the board for meat, for eggs, for dairy, it's going up. And so what we're learning is that the chefs, the fishermen, the local purveyors, everyone is trying to figure out how to balance the cost to the diner and the consumer versus the cost of the labor or the cost of what it takes to actually like harvest that fish, right? So like someone from Sweet Amalia, right? Everyone loves Sweet Amalia oysters. Lisa Calvo, the owner of Sweet Amalia, is constantly finding that juggling act, right? I know that it takes 2 years for an oyster to get big enough to sell to diners. But I also know that I have to start selling them at maybe $2, $3, $4 a pop. So how do I balance that, right? So I think it's just an ebb and flow that we're seeing with cost across the board, seafood included.
You mentioned that you grew up in the Caribbean and you were eating whole fish. I know that you say you were allergic to the shellfish. So what local fish can you eat or have you found that you're eating a lot of?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would definitely say like flounder is one that I'm eating a lot, especially down the shore. There's so much of that. Bluefish is another one that I'm eating. Obviously, a lot of like whitefish that's a little bit like meatier and, thicker. Those are the fish that I really gravitate to that is around here for sure. I buy my fish primarily through Samuel Seafood. They do have a wonderful fish market in deep South Philly. So, for example, summer halibut can become mahi-mahi in the winter. So I rely on them for local fish. It's very dependent, obviously, on what they're catching and what their purveyors are catching. But I really love what they have in terms of product and variety and also price. I think it's pretty good.
Nice. Well, if you're going down the shore, where are you going? I need these wrecks.
So I recently went to Local 130 Seafood. It's in Asbury Park. It's like right off the main drag in Asbury. And they have a cute little market and shop that you can get fish right from there. So they have it all laid out. They'll fillet it for you. They'll debone it. They also have like prepared fish. So if you want to just take home some shrimp and quickly cook that up, they've got that as well. Viking Village is also another good one that you can stop by when you're down the shore to check out what fish they have. They have commercial fisheries, so they sell to a lot of restaurants as well. But I think it's cool to go to the source and figure out, okay, where can I get some good fish that's going to be local and that's going to be sustainable? So Viking Village is in Barnegat, which is south of Seaside Heights.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's bring it back to the city. You also wrote about a local organization that really piqued my interest. It's called Fishadelphia, which is a community-supported fishery with more than 150 members. Tell me more about them.
Yeah, so Fishadelphia started as a student-run fish stand, if you can believe it. I thought that was really cool. It was started from a former high school teacher, Talia Young, and it basically was a way to get fish and kids engaged and learning about the local ecosystem about fish. And then it became something that the kids would bring back to their houses to sell around the neighborhood. Basically, they took the fish stand idea out of the school into local communities where they lived. And it just got so popular that they grew into a membership organization. And so the way it works now is that there's 16 different pickup locations across Philadelphia. And so when you're a member, you get a newsletter every couple of weeks to say, okay, this is the fish that we have available for you to buy. Here's your local pickup. And you can just go and get your fish, basically. And they will tell you really cool information about, where the fish came from, even how the fish was caught, the boat, the fisherman that caught it. And they also give you a recipe as well so that you can cook the fish at home.
Oh, I love this. Any other resources for our seafood-loving listeners?
Aside from Fishadelphia, there's other local organizations that you can visit to learn more about what seafood to eat responsibly. So Fishtown Seafood is another spot that's become a great resource to get informed about how fish is harvested, the difference between wild-caught fish and fish farms, what's in season right now, and what makes tinned fish so popular and last so long. Similar to how people are really interested in eating and sourcing local meat and veggies, fish kind of needs that same attention. So you can ask the same questions that you would to those proteins.
That was Alicia Miranda, freelance food and travel writer. Alicia, thank you so much for all these recommendations and for joining me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
You can check out the story in Edible Philly's summer issue this month. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this episode about where to get some local seafood, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the Friday News Roundup. Bye.